this spring I was fortunate to be able to go on a 2-week silent retreat, that's where Joseph Goldstein and this gentleman, this monk named Analio, were teaching. And so at a silent retreat, basically you get up early, you meditate all day, then you go to bed. It's really quite focused. And what I'm about to go over with you is a meditation. It's based on the Satipatthana Sutta, which is sort of one of the foundational teachings in the Buddhist tradition, and it's what this gentleman Analio translated from Chinese and Pali and Sanskrit into English. And what he was trying to do was get back as close as he could to the original teachings, and how he did that was if a particular phrase was in all 3 translations, then he figured that probably goes back to the beginning. If it was missing in 1 or more, he would figure that that was an add-on, that was something that got changed in the verbal transmissions over the decades and the millennia. And he was very interested in really getting back to the beginning. And this Satipatthana is a couple people in here have been to the Insight Meditation Society in Barre, Mass., which is a great resource for learning more about Buddhism and meditation. They practice Vipassana meditation. I want to speak about that tonight or tomorrow morning, I think tonight. And Vipassana meditation is sort of like the child of the Satipatthana Sutta. The samadhi that we learned last night, they say samadhi will help you relax, and Vipassana meditation will help you achieve enlightenment. It's how it's done. And it translates to insight meditation. And so Vipassana comes out of the Satipatthana Sutta, which we're about to talk about. The focus of the teaching, now this teaching that you're about to get in 25 minutes, this Analio spent 8 days trying to teach us. So it's based on about 14 pages of text. So you're going to get 8 days in about 15 minutes. So don't worry about it being thorough or the whole thing. I'm really wanting to give you a taste and to focus on the concept of impermanence. Really a foundational aspect, 2 foundational aspects of Buddhism. One I would say is that the Four Noble Truths, the underpinnings of that is that all suffering comes from ignorance. And the other foundational concept is that everything is impermanent. And that you and I and that post and the fans and everything are impermanent, and ultimately, if you get down to it, we're all energy. And the physical manifestations are created by our consciousness rather than the other way around. And so the Satipatthana Sutta helps focus on that. So what I want you to do is get into a comfortable position where you can meditate for probably about 20 minutes. And then I'm just going to, while your eyes are generally closed, if you prefer to meditate with your eyes open, there's no problem with that as far as I'm concerned, and it's generally taught both ways, and depending on who your teacher is, they'll recommend one or the other. If you're going to meditate with your eyes open, you generally would be recommended to have them what I call half-mast, or about 2/3 closed with a downward gaze. I prefer to meditate with my eyes closed. And then I am going to the best of my ability, go through the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And I want to go through the 4 foundations of mindfulness while you are in a meditative state. And you may get confused as to whether I'm just boring you to sleep or whether you're meditating. Either is fine. So what I want you to do is take about 10 seconds and let yourself know that you're about to start meditating. Either with your eyes closed or your eyes at half mast. And while you're sitting, I'm going to speak about the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The first foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of the body. So notice your body sitting in a chair or on the floor. Notice where your body is making contact with the surface upon which you're resting. Be aware of your body sitting in the position it's sitting. And be aware of your mind resting comfortably on your body as your body is resting comfortably in its seat. And in your awareness, you can notice that your body is made up of certain components that in and of themselves are not attractive, are not appetizing. Our body is made up of skin, from the head all the way to the toes is skin. Inherently not attractive. We get confused in our lives with sensual desires. It's the first of the 5 hindrances. And if you notice, your body is made up of skin and flesh and bones and other constituents which in and of themselves are not attractive. One can let go of the sensual desire. And we talked a bit earlier about craving, desire, a fundamental desire is sensual, and what we're after is something that is inherently not attractive. We're all aging. Ultimately, the body fails. And as you're listening to my voice, you can contemplate the reality that our body is going to age. Eventually it will fail. And eventually it will become a corpse. And when practicing in this manner, one will go into great depth to understand the impermanence of the body, its inherent lack of attraction, and lack of any reason or purpose for clinging to it. The body is impermanent. The second contemplation is about feelings. And in this context, we're speaking of feelings as they relate to the body. The body is made up of 4 constituents of earth, water, fire, and wind. And feelings are always changing. They are very impermanent. You may notice the feelings related to your body, starting with your head. And some of you will be able to feel your hair, your ears, the relaxation or tension in your neck and your shoulders. In your upper arms, in your lower arms. As you notice your arm touching you notice the coolness from the fan. You notice your posture. Then we judge, and it changes. So what you can do is you notice the earth element from your head down to your feet. The water element, the blood, the urine, the mucus, and it changes. Nothing is permanent. And as we meditate, we become aware of these feelings, ideally without judgment. And when we're judgmental, we notice the judgment without judgment. And focus on our whole body. The fire is the temperature of our body. As you notice the coolness, you notice heat, you notice discomfort from our head down to our toes. And finally the wind, which is our breath. So we inhale and exhale. And there are three types of feelings: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And as we meditate, we're simply aware, unpleasant, pleasant, without judgment. The third contemplation is a contemplation of the mind. Our thoughts are completely impermanent. They jump from here to there, from future to past, from fear to constructions of concepts and precepts. And our feelings are comprised, or our thoughts are comprised of desires, cravings, and no desires, no cravings. So there's two thoughts there, desire or no desire. Another is aversion. I want the fan on, I want the fan off. My back hurts, there's no pain. Desires and aversions. Desires, no desires. Aversions, no diversions. The final thoughts are known as delusional distractions. As we meditate, we will have many delusional distractions. As you notice them without judgment. And at other times there will be a lack or no delusional distractions. The fourth contemplation is of the Dharma. In this case, the 5 hindrances. These are the 5 hindrances to meditation. The first hindrance is sensual desire. There are many types of sensual desire. One is attraction to other people. When you notice that you're experiencing sensual desire, we focus on the first contemplation, on the contemplation of the impermanence of the body and its inherent lack of attractiveness or appetizing nature. So when you're meditating and thinking of the person that you want to be with, focus on the impermanence of the body and its eventual demise. The second hindrance is anger or ill will, a very common malady. So when the person next to you is making too much noise, when someone arrives late or leaves early, when you start thinking of that person at home that talks too long in meetings, when anger comes up, notice it without judgment. And think about the impermanence of all things. What you can say to yourself in your meditation is, on your in-breath, say, "This may be my last breath." And on the out-breath, that's okay, or acceptance. So when you're experiencing anger or ill will, on your in-breath, "This may be my last breath." On your out-breath, that's okay. The third hindrance is sloth or torpor. Tiredness, the tendency to fall asleep. It's a very common hindrance when you're experiencing fatigue, sloth, torpor. There are things you can do. One is to focus on your in-breath. And your in-breath will energize you. If you're still unable to ward off the tendency to fall asleep, and you're meditating with your eyes closed, you can open your eyes and meditate with your eyes open until you're energized. If you're still tending to fall asleep, you can stand. It's perfectly fine. And that's the third hindrance, sloth or torpor. And when it's happening, focus on your in-breath and allow yourself to experience what you're experiencing without judgment. The fourth hindrance is restlessness and worry. When we meditate, all the relatives show up. The bills that come to mind, that thing we did that we wish we hadn't, shows up. When you notice that you're restless, when you notice that your meditation is filled with worry, focus on your out-breath. The fifth hindrance is one of the most troubling, which is doubt. Is this going to help me? Is this going to work? Am I wasting my time? When experiencing doubt in meditation, we move on to focus and to notice the 7 awakening factors. The 7 awakening factors are mindfulness, investigation, specifically investigation of Dharma, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. There's no need to remember those at this time, but in your practice going forward, as you learn more about yourself, about the path, you can make a mental note that when you're experiencing doubt, to learn the 7 awakening factors. In practicing this meditation, we generally start by making an intention known to ourselves as to the purpose of this meditation. So going forward in your meditations, as you start your meditations, you can state, my intention for this meditation is. A common intention is to proceed along the path and to benefit others. Ultimately, the purpose of this meditation is to help us learn to let go. Letting go of this room, letting go of my voice, letting go of your thoughts, letting go of the future, letting go of the past, and ultimately letting go of ourselves in the illusion that we are separate from each other. The 4 foundations of mindfulness are the mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind or thoughts, and mindfulness of the Dharma. I'm going to be quiet for a moment and then end the meditation with the bell. We're scheduled for a break